Some noise for 21 Pilots! You gentlemen can have a seat. We have water there for you as well. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Hello.
How are you guys feeling so far today?
Good.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what we want to hear. So we're just going to kick things off with Talissa, right? She has a question for you guys, Talissa.
When you're writing music, do you already have the melody or what it's going to sound like in your head?
That's a good question. Do I already have the melody in my head when writing music? I would say that I usually have to use an instrument to kind of develop that idea. I know a lot of musicians and artists can hear it first. I don't know if I necessarily have that ability. I kind of have to make it come to life to realize it.
All right, the next one's coming from Lindsay.
What is a conspiracy theory that you believe in?
In the world? Anything? You've been watching documentaries lately? Yeah, it's tough because I do feel like documentaries can make you believe anything. That's their job. Conspiracy theories. I mean, I believe that we've known about aliens for a long time. If that helps you. Yeah.
All right, next up, Kelly.
Is there or has there ever been a band or musician that you would wait hours in line to see like your fans do for you?
We didn't really grow up doing that. I would do it for us, for our band. But I think that we just didn't really realize until people started waiting in line for our band that was even a thing. Because I think that we would just sort of buy tickets and then show up and stand where we stand. But there's a lot more thought put into it by a lot of you guys than
I think also there's something to be said. When we were younger, our world was littler and smaller because we didn't have the internet in a way that it lives today, where we just seem to be more aware of the people around us and to understand that there are people who, are fans of a band or believe in a band. Even if there was a band that we were a fan of, I don't think that we could count very many people that we knew personally who were also a fan of that band. So there was much less of a community naturally back then, which I think is probably one of the few positives from the technology of just social media, is being able to bring people together with, like-mindedness, which creates the ability to do something like this.
Yeah.
And on the internet, you could also find new conspiracy theories. So you could do that.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Megan, what's your question?
Trench is a concept album unlike any of your others, built around the imaginary city of Dima. Are you considering doing something like this with future albums?
I don't know.
We have another Megan. Megan, I'm not gonna. I'll hand you the mic.
What was the most challenging song to write and produce from Trench?
Maybe it was the song Bandito for me. It was actually one of the oldest songs on the record, meaning that the idea was around for a while. And there was all these parts and all these things we were trying to say, trying to communicate inside the song. And that one was the hardest to crack the code, whether it was sonically cracking that code or just the right production to ramp up into some sort of drop, but not really a drop. It was hard to articulate exactly what we wanted to accomplish. And so it was a lot of searching, a lot of kind of experimenting and trying different things. And then we finally kind of landed on it. And it was one of the last songs that we finished, even though it was one of the first songs to be written. So it kind of spanned throughout the entirety of the record. And I guess in a way, emphasize a lot of the themes found in that single song and spread itself out over the course of the entire album in a way that we actually grew to love, which is why, you know, we've always liked the idea of playing that song live and branding the tour with that name and really kind of driving home how important that song is to us and watching it kind of reverberate off of our fans back at us. And so that was probably the most rewarding, but also one of the toughest.
Matthew, what's your question?
All right, my question is, if you could have anything come out from your pointer finger, what would it be and why?
That's a great question. Is it on command or is it just always happening? On command? That changes everything.
Yeah.
Slim Jims?
Nerds ropes.
I guess
Just
we
food.
think it needs to be long and like thin.
Yes, you can fit in there.
Could be anything though. He said it's anything.
Mine could be a little thicker than yours, probably.
Yeah,
I
like a
got
used
I
car.
have chubby fingers. A used car.
You never know.
Um,
You never, you know, you don't need an Uber. You'd be like,
Yeah.
I need a ride.
yeah.
There you go. It's right there. Where's your car? You just be like, it's right over there.
All right, up next we have Lillian. What's your question?
What's your favorite way to discover new music?
I think, I mean, word of mouth is always the best way to do it, I think. So there are, you know, I think with streaming and radio has always been around and is great. Yeah. But, yeah. And but look, when we were kids, we did listen to the radio until our favorite song came on and then hit record and play at the same time and like make your own playlist on cassette. So yeah, we've loved the radio for a long time, but there's nothing better than when like somebody that you know and trust shows you a cool band or a song. I think that like initial memory that you have of listening to it and experiencing that is kind of unbeatable.
Sarah, I'm just going to give you the mic.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
I haven't really thought about that very much.
So you believe in aliens, but not Bigfoot. Just to clarify.
So, well, we're talking about an entire different,
I get it.
endless groups of species versus one animal,
I understand.
right?
I understand.
Or are we talking about like, is there a species of Bigfoot? I guess I don't know.
Big feet.
If it's like stuff like Loch Ness monster and Bigfoot, this lore has been around for so long that I feel like they're probably just dead now. Unless like part of the lore is that they live forever and don't get noticed. So yeah, I do.
All right, Brenna.
What was your favorite Halloween costume you ever wore?
I haven't really done.
Did you ever do that?
Not really. I was like a cowboy once.
Like 2 years ago?
Yeah. I think the closest that I've really been is when we started this band, and then we went in Halloween costume stores to just like find, you know, that hoodie, and so he wore it. He bought that day, the skeleton hoodie, and I bought a gorilla costume. And we played in those live, and then I quickly realized that he was right. And I went and returned the gorilla costume.
They didn't want it back.
It smelled way different than when I first bought it. And I went with the skeleton.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite Halloween costume.
Chris.
What is your earliest memory related to music or otherwise?
Wow. Well, some people say that it's proven that you can hear music like while you're in the womb. So I remember my parents arguing. Well, it's not really musical, but
Man.
I'd say a lot of my musical, when I hear certain songs that take me way back, it's usually a soundtrack for an old video game. Because you spend so many hours playing a video game, especially when you're younger, and I don't know, it's just this epic trying to overcome something that you can't figure out, and then you finally do. And it's obviously like very exciting when you do that. But then as you get older and you look back at those games or even those moments, you realize that that's not that big of a deal. But the feeling of how important that moment was is forever tied to whatever song was playing while you did it. And so my brother and I will send each other, songs of old video games that we used to play, and it'll just shoot us right back to how amazing that moment felt. So yeah, I guess like Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario and stuff on Super Nintendo. Those types of songs.
Yeah, those were so good.
Ashley.
What's your morning routine while you're on tour?
Well, it's, I guess, technically afternoon, usually when we wake up on tour.
No, it's not true. We get up at 6 a.m. and jog.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, schedules do shift on tour, though. Like, we don't eat dinner until, like, 12:30 at night. So it's hard to, like, get off stage and go to bed. Like, off stage into a bed. Can you imagine? Brushing your teeth is good.
I don't think she's asking for suggestions.
Are you looking for things to do in the morning? I mean, that's a classic wake-up move.
Yeah.
Brush away the sleep.
Something I never get used to is obviously I know our schedule. I kind of have an idea of where we're going, kind of. That cliche that you hear about, whether it's a movie or a commercial or whatever it is, where the band or lead singer specifically, like, doesn't know where he is and says the wrong city name. And I remember seeing that and thinking, there's no way that that's real. Like, obviously he knows where he is right now. But that brings me back to one of my morning routines is getting on my phone and literally looking at my map and going, where am I right now? Which I never thought would be a part of my routine, but waking up and not knowing exactly where you are is kind of a weird feeling, because you fall asleep on a moving bus and it drives somewhere, and then you wake up in a completely different spot. It's an odd one, so yeah, I check my maps.
Brianna, who's here from San Antonio, she made the drive. What's your question?
If you guys were stranded on a deserted island, what 3 things would you bring with you?
Are you assuming I'm on the island for a certain amount of time, or am I trying to pick things that would help me get off the island? Or have you not thought of this far?
I haven't thought of that, but I would say to get off the island.
To get off the island?
I'd bring a plane then.
Plane would be nice. Plane.
Cell tower.
Cell tower. Like they're just in our pocket.
Yeah.
I bring like a really outdoorsy friend. First, I'd have to meet them. People who've like always dreamed of that. Like, this is my moment.
Yeah. I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
You'll also have a used car.
Yeah.
Because of the finger.
Whenever you want.
Slim Jims for days.
Slim Jims.
The next question's coming from Shelby, because I'm on this side of the room. Shelby.
Other than music, what are some of your creative outlets?
Like coloring.
You guys still want to answer?
I don't know. We're gonna make this awkward for you.
You cracked a smirk. I won. Dina, is that your name? Dina?
All right. You're stuck in IKEA during a zombie apocalypse. What's your next move?
IKEA. I guess you could just stay there, right?
Yeah, stay in IKEA. Lock the doors.
There's a lot of wood. You can use it to make steaks, to go through the hearts of the zombies.
Oh, was she asking you? I'm sorry.
1-1.
I would use him as bait.
The last question is from Brenna.
Do you find yourself becoming more or less like your parents when you're getting older?
Definitely more.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a weird feeling.
It makes me wonder if I've always been like my parents, or if I'm like just realizing it. But I definitely we've talked about this recently too.
Yeah, it's
Like,
inevitable. Can't stop it.
Yeah, and having siblings too. Like I see like my little brother's mannerisms. He does a lot of stuff that my dad does, and I'm like, do I do that too? And then I'm like, yeah, I do. It's so weird that you like can't get around it. As much as you try. But yeah, definitely more the older we get.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. There's certain things that you take from your parents, or at least you've witnessed your parents do, that you, I guess, in a sense, want to actively not do. But the harder you try to change or do things differently than how you witnessed, you start to take other things that you didn't even realize existed. It's almost like there's always going to be the same amount of stuff you take from your parents. And whatever you focus on not taking is more stuff that you're going to take. Like whether it's a certain philosophy that you want to, change, you want to oppose your parents and how you were raised, then that's when you're going to start like leaning on a table exactly like your dad does. So it's just going to happen. So
We're always getting more handsome, like as time goes on, and I realize it's just we're getting more and more like our dads. Very handsome dads.
Just hot dudes.
Yeah. So
We have hot dads.
we do.
Cannot deny it.
On that note, one more time, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Show some love for Josh and Tyler of 21 Pilots.